Oh, happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to my show, where it really is okay to not be okay. I'm Rae Bonney. I'm a qualified counsellor, workplace mental health specialist, not to mention a very dedicated and oftentimes enthusiastically disruptive men's issues advocate. Not every girl's dream job, but hey, remember that men also matter. Yes, I'm back after a couple of months recreating Rae Bonney. I'm now very independent and even more outspoken than ever. So for my show, what does it feel like being you today? This is the new time slot, 10:30 till 12 noon, the second Sunday of every month. Now, it's a bit of a mathematical equation, so pop it in your diary now. It's got me a bit confused. Anyway, as always, I'm unwrapping one of the greatest gifts going around, and that is people. Layer by layer, we explore the thoughts, experiences, achievements and challenges of ordinary people bound to inspire the best you. At the same time, again, acknowledging that it really is okay to not be okay. So turn up your radio. Now, we just heard from the beautiful Nina Nicolato. She said a lot of things in Italian, and she also told me that she introduced my show in Italian. So thank you, Nina, for your amazing show that's been going for very, very many years now, and I know that you have listeners all over the world. Now, my first guest back is just as special as all the others, has experienced more than most people do in a lifetime. At a very young age, Amanda Campbell was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a debilitating, incurable disease, and soon after she experienced a major MS attack that left her paralysed and unable to move, eat, walk, or control her own body. Amanda's going to share with us today how she fought down fear and panic, channeling her energy into a positive force. With a mountain of determination and the aid of health and medical practitioners, this amazing woman astounded everyone by not only walking unaided, but running like a bandit. Now an accredited sports kinesiologist, Amanda founded Bend It Like Bamboo. Now that's a bamboozling mouthful, but it's a program designed to optimise health and resilience. She dedicates her time to helping others rebuild their lives after illness, trauma and stress. At her core, Amanda believes renewal can be possible when the mind and body are given the right environment. Now, Amanda, welcome to the show, and what does it feel like being you today?
Hi, Rae. It's so lovely to be here today. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and it's great to be a part of a show that I really believe in. I think this is so great that you're an advocate as you are. What you do for people, it's amazing.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you liked your intro.
It was a lovely intro.
My guests tend to almost fall asleep going, when is she going to stop with the intro? Will I ever get a chance to speak?
No. It was really lovely. Thank you. Yeah, the business is called Bend Like Bamboo. A lot of people say bend it like bamboo.
Which I did.
It's only because of the movie.
Oh,
Everyone does it. Everyone does it, don't worry. But it gets people talking about it even more, so it's a good thing.
True, because if you bent it like bamboo, most people would say, oh, I've never bent bamboo before, because not often are we doing that in our daily lives.
Yeah.
But bend like bamboo, we can see how it's very flexible and
indeed,
and especially relating to the environment. So I did ask you, what did it feel like being you today? Because you gave me a little insight earlier that my words are coming out backwards today, but the heat knocked you around a little bit.
It's been so hot, hasn't it? The last few days. I forget how the heat can affect me sometimes because, 98% of the time I feel amazing, symptom-free. But yeah, the heat over the last few days, it made me feel just so slow, like I was walking through mud, and I was quite tired yesterday. Yeah, kind of had to stop.
I mean, it's always of interest to me to watch people, how they're physically challenged, but how it affects your mental health at the same time, and how they both work comorbidly together. Here she goes. I mean,
absolutely.
You're just going to have to put up with me today, listeners, with this.
It's all right.
Backward and forward, blah, blah. But Amanda, you've got a massive story, and I didn't want to jump straight into it, but, in my intro, we're talking about you were diagnosed at an early age with MS, which for a young person in itself is a massive diagnosis.
Yeah.
And then a few short years after that, that's when you had your major breakdown. Would you call it a breakdown or episode? Or
Well, looking back now, I'd probably call it a breakthrough. But absolutely, we all have that. I think we all have a story, and we all have that one pivotal time in life where everything breaks down and we shed the old aspects of ourselves, and it's usually from a crisis of some sort that breaks us apart. I had mine at age 29. I was diagnosed with at 24.
So tell me, what happened when you were 24? How did you manage that information?
You just do, don't you? Like when
actually, I might challenge you on that because no, in my world, people don't, and that's why we end up
Fair call. Well, I just did the best I could in the moment. Very difficult. It raised a lot of questions about what I actually believed in, which I didn't even realize before. The first thing I said to my neurologist when he diagnosed me, I remember it was so odd. I was 24 and I said, "Can I have a family still? Does this mean I can't?" And, because I was quite young, obviously I'd never really thought about that before. So that was an interesting revelation. And I hate crying in front of people. So I welled up and ran into the other room and just bawled my eyes out. Yeah, it was really hard. But did you want me to start back at the start of my story of how it all started?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wind way back. I have a twin sister, Nicole, and she's my rock and the yang to my yin. But you'll find out a bit more what that means later. When we were young, we were always very happy, motivated, driven young girls. And we were very lucky to attend a couple of great schools that not only offered academics, but sports and music as well. So we found ourselves in the music school probably half of the time because we had just found a huge passion for it. So we were learning as many instruments as we could: piano, flute, violin, singing. We loved it, but we also loved academics as well. And that was it was a really wonderful opportunity. So when we finished school, that was hard because Nicole was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when we were 11. And Nicole had one of the worst cases seen back then. And she was on the traditional therapy of steroids and many other medication. And she wound up with a lot of side effects such as rheumatoid arthritis. And she was just very, very sick. And the entire family, including Nicole, of course, went into this alarmed state. So this, I guess, was the first time we learnt that, life can take a turn. Life can go really wrong. And, that twin feeling people talk about, that connection. I really felt that when Nicole was sick because I just knew inside of myself that when something was up and a teacher will soon after just come to class and say to me, Nicole's been rushed to hospital again, you need to go. So last minute, Nicole would have to go to hospital and spend weeks on end there. And so I became frightened of losing my best friend and questioned my mortality for the first time because, Nicole flatlined and died twice, but she's, still with us today, thankfully, and she has recovered. But that was a hard time. So she missed stacks of school. I think it was around year 7, 8, 9. Yeah, she couldn't really go to school at all. And then around 10, 11, 12, we ended up going to a really cool school that had a bunch of our mates there. And I wanted Nicole to feel real comfortable. It was a smaller school, Strathcona Girls in Canterbury. And Nicole did such a great job. She was such a trooper. She came back to school and nailed it. And we finished year 12. And, Nicole had improved. So we figured life was too short. We weren't sure what we wanted to study. There was a love for academics and a love for music. And I was entertaining marketing. I was entertaining law. And I went off to university for a year on a path to go the academics. But we figured life was too short. And we just decided to defer uni and pursue our dream to sing and dance full time.
Wow.
Yeah, we did it. And it was amazing.
Through school?
Yeah. After a year of university.
Yes.
Yeah, we decided to defer. And
so who are you singing and dancing with?
So we first went
surely not the Johnny Young talent
No,
school.
We didn't do that. No,
You're not
that was pretty cool though. No, we went and studied musical theatre and dance at Dance Factory in Richmond for a couple of years, and we studied all different types of dance, and there was singing there as well because we were more singers than dancers really. So it was good to sort of brush up on some dancing skills. And this was around the age of 19 that I first experienced symptoms.
Wow. So at this stage you've led this really rock and roll life, apart from Nicole's serious illness yourself, you've sort of been managing her, I guess, more than you're worried about yourself, and then affording yourself this opportunity to really jump into life literally
Yeah, what taught us that life was too short and Nicole improved, so we kind of got the courage to go, you know what, let's just go for it. And we did, and we were living our dream, and we started to write our own music, and we started to find songwriters to co-write with and producers to produce our music, and it was incredible, and we loved it. But yeah, it was around age 19 that also, whilst we were studying at Dance Factory, I first experienced pins and needles down the left-hand side of my face and fingertips, and I guess my body started to mirror how emotionally paralysed I felt, because although life was great and we were really enjoying pursuing our dreams, I don't think that we quite came out of that alarm state, because it's a switch that has to happen inside of you, and I didn't have the skills I have now to understand how to really get your body to switch that off, that real fear. But we were young, and that was our path. And so, that was around the age of 19. So I went and had my symptoms analysed. So I had to go to my local GP, and they ordered an MRI. So that was my first MRI. It was pretty scary. And they wanted to eliminate a brain tumour or anything that might be causing this pins and needles.
Who did you have around you at this time, Amanda?
My mum came with me to the MRI, and it took me so long to get into the machine. I think I had to have a Valium. I was so scared. And I've got a wonderful group of friends and family. But mum was with me getting my MRI. The results only showed one spot on my brain at that time. So they can't really diagnose you with anything yet. I wasn't diagnosed with anything at that stage. And so true to my nature, I just got on with life, because that's what we do, don't we? The sun rises and the sun sets, and you go through stuff, but you've still got to get on with the day. And
not for everyone.
Again. Well, I guess that was us. That was how we saw it, and that's true. But we also had to make money. So whilst trying to be musicians.
So were you living independently as well?
Still at age of 19, we were living with mum and my grandmother, and we were raised by two beautiful women, two mums. And I fell into the fashion industry, a career I really enjoyed, not only in my teens, but my 20s.
So you've just deviated really quickly from you're in an MRI, you've got a spot on your brain, you just get on with life.
Yeah, well, they couldn't diagnose me with anything.
There's no follow-up or anything?
Not at that stage. They just said, we don't know what it is, so I actually couldn't follow it up. They just said, there's a bit of inflammation there, it could be this, could be that. We can't actually find a conclusion, so let's just monitor, but just, get on with your life and just keep stay positive. And so, that's what we did. And so we kept studying, we kept writing our own music, we kept, working in as many studios as possible. But I had to make money. So I fell into the fashion industry. I first started at General Pants back in, on Chapel Street, still there. And
they'll be closing down soon. I think everyone's closing out of Chapel Street at the moment.
Oh my gosh, that's
true. The rent's so expensive.
That's true.
Sorry, Chapel Street.
After that, I had my first job behind the scenes in fashion with Sabatini, a New Zealand knitwear label that I love. Gosh, and 20 years later, the knitwear I have still is pristine, no balls, amazing quality. So I fell in love with the company. It was a family company, and Margie was my beautiful boss, and they really trained me. I started off as the receptionist, and they had a lot of showings. It's a wholesale business. And they promoted me to the Australian coordinator not long after. I just really found something I was really good at, I think. And then after that, I also had a wonderful opportunity to work with Jeton Couture. They design gowns for women getting married, but also celebrities. It's really high-end, beautiful quality. That was fun. And it was around the age of 24, whilst I was working in the fashion industry, that the symptoms started to come back. And the pins and needles now progressed into weakness on the left-hand side of my body.
So nothing before then? Nothing at all?
Yeah, it's like there were years apart, my symptoms. And so the symptoms came back, and it was around the age of 24, the symptoms got worse. It was more weakness on the left-hand side of my body. So I went and had it checked out again. They ordered another MRI.
Can I just bring you back to that moment? I'm fascinated by, my show is, what does it feel like being you today? But what did that feel like, having had Nicole go through all of her early childhood illness, which was very, very scary, then to have your spot on your brain MRI experience and now this. Was there any fear in you, or you still had the attitude of it's just life?
Of course. I don't know why that happened to both Nicole and I, but yeah, it's kind of funny. She got sick and then she mended, and then it was like, okay, my turn, I'll get sick now. I don't know why it happened.
But you didn't feel anything, was my question, that you just felt that life was still great and it was nothing to worry about?
No, it was definitely frightening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was definitely frightening. I had another MRI, and I had my results analysed by a neurologist this time. But I guess I've always managed to see the bright side of life. I've always been a sort of a motivated, happy, driven young girl. So perhaps sometimes the way I deal with things is by moving forward and just getting on with it. And then sometimes that didn't serve me well because I didn't really look at how I really felt. So although it did serve me in moving forward, and it certainly served me later on when I had to learn how to walk again, but at times, I also then later on had to learn how to deal with just sitting with my emotions and therefore processing them rather than just suppressing them and moving on.
I guess that's why I'm digging a bit deeper into it, because I know that our listeners who, some people definitely come from a perspective of what they can't do. Yeah. And that's normal as well, and that's very, very acceptable. But sometimes when we're listening to a story like yours, it's great to know what did it really feel like at that time, and what did you really do to get through the moment, because it's very easy just to go, got through it and just moved on absolutely. And put it behind me and blah, blah, blah. But to know what was it that motivated you to keep going at that age where really it's a diagnosis that is death.
Yeah, well, before that, I didn't have the diagnosis yet, so I kind of could put it out of my mind. But after that second MRI and seeing a neurologist, that's, I think, when it hit home, because I remember seeing Dr. Lawrence Scher looked at my results, and then he looked at me, and then all of a sudden he said, Amanda, I'm so sorry, but your results show you've now got multiple lesions on your brain, which means now we can actually diagnose you with multiple sclerosis. And that's what multiple sclerosis means, is, multiple lesions on your brain.
Okay.
Yeah. So from that moment on, I can absolutely say that everything stopped. It was slow motion and life was never to be the same again.
So did you have to leave your job? And
really difficult. No, not at that stage. No. I was just diagnosed at that stage. Yeah. But from that moment on, I was frightened, and in that alarm state again, it was triggered. So I started to focus on what I didn't want and what I was scared of that might happen. And that's what we do when we're in an alarm state. We tend to focus on the negative, and that overcautiousness comes on of what if. And so as a result, my decisions and my actions mirrored this. I actually felt, I didn't know really what MS was. I didn't have a full understanding, but once I learned
was Google around back then?
Pardon?
Was Google around back then?
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. I started to research all about it, and it's a very unpredictable, debilitating and chronic disease. I knew it was chronic, but you can end up quite disabled, and it can accelerate very quickly last minute, and it's very unpredictable. So they don't really understand why that happens. And so I was terrified that I might end up being disabled, bedridden or worse. So being in my 20s, I went out later. I worked harder. I got busy and disconnected more and more from my emotions, denying how I really felt about what that meant. And that was how I coped with it initially.
And then what happened?
And so that was really scary, and not looking after myself 5 years later, again, another 5 years later.
When you say not looking after yourself, without getting into too much detail.
I was just in my 20s and
doing normal 20 stuff.
Yeah,
partying.
Nothing bad, but yeah, I wouldn't, I was working also in nightclubs when I was in studying musical theatre and dance. Nicole and I worked behind the bar at Chases and at Silvers, and we had a ball, but I guess the shift work wouldn't have been good for our health. I was never really educated at school about the importance of nutrition and how it really is fuel for your body and information to your cells. We ate relatively well, and I've never been that much of a drinker, especially when I was really young, even though we were surrounded by it in the pubs as well and working. But no, it was more just my emotional state, really, in terms of how I wasn't looking after myself, because I didn't know how to look after my mental health. And as a result, I didn't make great great decisions for myself. I didn't have the courage because I really started to live my life as if, you know what, it could be over soon. So I'm just going to squeeze in as much fun as I can now. And you make different decisions when you've got a mindset like that. You live more for the now, which is kind of positive, but you also don't necessarily think about the future, and you don't believe that the future can be long for you. And so that fear creates, there's a mirror that happens in your body, that alarm state, which I didn't understand at the time. And so 5 years later, my worst fears were realised, and the entire left-hand side of my body became completely paralysed.
Are you able to talk about that? Or?
Yeah. It took a slow, cruel 10 days to become completely paralysed. It was a long time ago, but I do remember my face dropped. So they even thought mimicked Bell's palsy. They weren't quite sure what was going on, but my face dropped, my shoulder and it started at the extremities. So my fingers and my hands just became weaker, and then one day I couldn't really lift my arm up very well, which affects whether you can wash yourself, how you feed yourself, and it just slowly just became worse and worse on the left hand side.
So you mentioned that they couldn't diagnose it at this stage.
No, I'd already been diagnosed at 24, and then at age 29 I became paralysed. They knew what it was, but my face dropping mimicked Bell's palsy, which it kind of looked like I had a stroke, really. And I was staying with a girlfriend of mine because it was in early January, and we were on holidays, and I was staying with her family at her beach house, and it was a very scary time. Whereas before, when I'd experienced the minor symptoms, after a couple of days they would just go away. And so I just positively thought, it'll just go away again. It'll just go away. It will, everything will come good. Just wait and see what happens. But it didn't that time. No. And so when I returned back to Melbourne, my twin sister, we were living together at that time. She looked at me and went, uh-oh. Yes. I think we have to go to the doctor. And so we made an appointment to go to the doctor, and she kind of literally had to drag me on her back because I couldn't walk at all. Like, I just couldn't walk on my own. It was almost like my muscles were twisting because it was just odd. I can't even explain. It was painful, even though it was numb. The tiny muscles inside of my shoulder and back were morphing and twisting. It was really uncomfortable.
It's really surprising. We say it's so typical of men that they don't go to the doctor and seek help, and they'll wait till their arm's fallen off and go, might have to do something about that. But what you're describing is a whole lifetime of being at the high end of acute care through Nicole, and also a little bit yourself as well. Why did it take Nicole to have to carry you to the doctor that you didn't actually have a support system already in place in the event?
Oh, I think it was just because I was away. I was away up at the beach, and we were on a holiday, and I thought, when it first started happening, I thought, oh, it will come good. It will go away. Like, this is what happened last time. If I was in Melbourne, I really should have gone to hospital immediately, or at least a doctor's appointment. And what it was one lesion on the right-hand side of my body. So it was a new lesion that occurred, and it was in the motor skill area of my brain. So that's why it was a huge relapse.
Wow.
Yeah, because you don't know where the lesions are going to pop up anywhere in your brain or spinal cord. So if you imagine an iPhone charger, the white plastic that surrounds all the wires inside represents the myelin, and the myelin is a protective sheath that allows electrical impulses to fire through so that your nerves can fire out to make lots of things happen. So, therefore you can go blind, you can stop swallowing, you can become paralysed, motor skill issues, balance issues, cognitive changes are quite common, anxiety, depression, and mood changes, and how you process thoughts and emotions, and heat sensitivity, as we spoke about before, and nerve pain are just a few symptoms that can happen, but it really just depends where your lesion is and what that area affects. Yeah. And so, and then that lesion becomes inflamed and stops those electrical pulses and the pathways firing through. When you have more of an earlier stage of MS, relapsing remitting phase, it's when the lesion then calms down, the inflammation. It then becomes scar tissue. But if you're lucky to not have too many lesions, your body is so intelligent and it finds a new pathway, and that's when the disability goes away.
Yes.
So you have it temporarily and then it goes away. But then people with more lesions or in that more progressive stage of MS will, if you have a new relapse, your body finds it harder to create this new pathway, and that's why.
Does that have something to do with age and fitness as well?
Yeah, they're still trying to get to the bottom of all of that. I suppose it would make sense if it did, but there's people that are really young that have their disease just accelerates and people don't really understand why.
Yeah. So your twin sister, Nicole, your only sister, Nicole.
Well, I actually have a half sister.
Oh.
Yeah. I have a half sister from Dad's first marriage and her name's Claire.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I've managed to pick very lovely names. But in particular, Nicole, who's been, with you for most of this journey, I'm interested to have a chat with her. So we're going to go to a break.
All right.
And when we come back, I would really love to talk a little bit more about what actually happened during that time when you lost that identity, and then that piece where you almost had that light bulb moment of what to do that changed your life. And always hearing it from somebody like your twin sister who you know you're very close with just adds something a little bit more special. So we're going to play another song at the moment. Now, I lost all access to my iTunes recently, and so I'm playing completely blind off CDs today, which is really exciting. I found a version, well, it's the only version, Dawson's Creek. Anyone who remembers that show back from, it was either the late 80s or the early 90s, one of my favourites, but it's a great soundtrack, and I've just punched in a number here. So don't go away. You're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC, and you're with Rae Bonney, where it really is okay to not be okay. Don't go away.
It's been a long time, it's easy to forget the reason we both stay and we won't give up yet. We're in for the long run, no doubts and no regrets. It doesn't matter what we're up against, 'cause I see it in your eyes. There's no more compromise. Baby, you can always count on me. You can, baby, you can. I'll be there for you and you for me. I'll be there. Anytime you're lost or you're in need, baby, you can always count on me. Stuck in a routine and ready to give up. You know how to save me. Together we stand up. I walk through the fire and I know that I'm alright. 'Cause with you right by my side, I don't need luck. Yeah, I see it all so clear. Our dream is almost here. Oh, baby, you can always count on me. I'll be there for you and you for me. Anytime you're lost or you're in need,
Welcome back. The time is just 6 minutes past 11 and you're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC with Rae Bonney, joined by Amanda Campbell, and she's a life transformation, mental health and motivational speaker, working with businesses to improve team wellbeing and performance through her business creation, Bend Like Bamboo. Now, any of you who were just listening to that track who might have thought, geez, Dawson's Creek got pretty special, didn't they? That in fact wasn't Dawson's Creek at all. That was actually Amanda Campbell and her very famous sister Nicole Campbell with their track from 20 years ago called
Meant to Be.
Meant to Be. And it was meant to be that we actually played that, I think.
Yes.
Because Rory, my son, just came in and he only ever comes into the studio to visit me when there's an extra special song on. So there you go. Now, without further ado, we do have on the line the lovely Nicole. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you. Oh my God, Amanda, happy dance. I was like listening to our song on the radio for the first time. I was just listening to it on hold. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's cool. You could have done the whole, we're on the radio.
I was like, oh. So cool.
I feel like I have to play it again. We might play it at the outro again or some of it at least.
I haven't heard it in ages. It's such a good
Oh, we've got
song.
lots there. We can play another one. Like the whole album's there. Yeah.
Oh gosh, bugger off Dawson's Creek then. We can do the whole album. There's a track 2 then, is there? There we go.
Go track instead of 2. I'll let you know.
Let me know when we're going to go to a song. So welcome to the show, Nicole. Now,
thanks for having me.
You are no slouch when it comes to the entrepreneurial stage either, because you also contribute to the well-being of people through creating beautiful frames for lovely faces.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have amazing, beautiful women and men. Particularly those who suffer from alopecia, recovering from cancer, who have lost all their hair, or just, you and I who just have patchy brows, who just need a bit of depth and definition. We just really change the face and creates balance and symmetry. And
now, what Nicole's talking about, for people who are going, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, true.
She's an eyebrow feathering artist and one of the best in Australia, evidently. And she built a company called Mean Brows, and they're actually just down the road in Camberwell. So, I'm due to get some new eyebrows as well, Nicole. So I might be coming to see you.
Definitely.
So this was actually the debut of your single on my radio show.
Yeah.
How exciting.
It's the best.
Brings you back to the old days.
We've been talking about you in the early stages of the show because you had a very early episode of illness way back when you were 11, which must have been really frightening in the way that Amanda described it for her, being your sister, and then all of a sudden almost losing you was such a big thing. So I'm going to just throw it over to you guys, if you don't mind, just to sort of give a bit of to and fro about your experience together and where you are now.
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed at 11 years old with Crohn's disease. Back then they didn't really know a lot about it and how to treat it. So I got very sick very quickly, and it's basically where your immune system attacks your stomach, large bowel and small bowel. And so I was at the Royal Children's Hospital for quite a long time, and the inflammation from my bowel was, there's a type of Crohn's where it can also spread to every joint in your body. So I was hospitalised mainly for, I was 19 kilos, I couldn't walk, no muscle mass left, in a wheelchair, and just very malnourished and in a lot of pain. And it was really hard. And I was on 100 milligrams of cortisone and 80 other tablets a day. So I blew up like a balloon and didn't look like a twin anymore. And Amanda started going through puberty and looked like a swan, and I looked feral, and it wasn't fun, and it was still
You never
hard,
looked like a feral. You always looked gorgeous.
You said I looked cute, but it wasn't cute.
I think it's all about what it feels like, isn't it, really?
And I think that's what really kind of drew me to, well, if I'm going to look like this and be sick, I might as well try and look good. And I think that's how I unconsciously fell into the beauty industry, but more about that later. Yeah, it was hard. Amanda and I, growing up, we were inseparable. I'm best friends, obviously, as twins, and a very special bond. And my illness really separated us for a time where, Mum had to concentrate on me. And
didn't she have to take you overseas at some stage as well?
We got to a point where we tried everything, and I had flatlined a couple of times, and Dad was just furiously just researching anything he could. And there was a experimental treatment in London at the time, and we had nothing to lose. So he got Mum and I to London with Professor Herman Taylor and did experimental treatment there, which was full on. But look, it got me off all of the drugs I was on that were literally killing me. It wasn't a cure to say, but it definitely helped. And then came back and off the intravenous stuff and was on tablets for 2 more years. And then the year of uni in 98, I still had a lot of pain and wasn't quite there yet. And so I spent that year just at home studying everything, to nutrition, Tony Robbins, your mindset,
liver cleansing.
diet. I just studied
That's
mindset.
Sandra Cabot.
For me. And then the year after, I was starting to feel the benefits of that. I was like, well, life's too short. I'm not going to finish my degree. I wanted to do law and do forensics, and I thought I'm going to dance, sing, because that's what I love to do. And so I said to Amanda, I'm going to go full-time dancing and singing. I just need to do stuff while I still have my body working. She said, let's do it together. And we just did. And that year of exercising every single day and doing what I love, and it was my passion and our passion, that's when I got really fit and my health dramatically improved, which showed to me that exercise was a very crucial part of my recovery as well.
Yeah.
As well as diet.
And joy. And joy. I think when,
joy, exactly.
when you find your joy, your body mirrors that and heals.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting because we've sort of covered that part of the story, not to cut you off and say we've been there and heard that before, but it's interesting the way that you're telling it in terms of how it got you better.
Yeah.
But it's sort of at the end of that, that's when Amanda became unwell.
Yeah, I know. We had a couple of years after that where life just went on, and then we focused on our music and just, worked hospitality, and then threw ourselves into singing, and then all of a sudden Amanda started to get these symptoms. No, it was actually, that year of dancing where Amanda got her first symptoms. And then we just sort of stopped, and we thought it may be cerebral palsy, but nothing else happened. And we were
Bell's palsy, I think you mean.
And yes. Then
it's a
couple
palsy.
years after that is when, the real symptoms started to hit. And
how were you feeling about that, having been through your own ghastly experience?
It's one thing going through it and feeling isolated, just being, oh my God, but watching your twin go through similar things was really tough, because I know I can't. I just wanted to take it away and take it on myself, and because I knew I could deal with it, and Amanda was freshly dealing with it. It was just so hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a piece I read, actually, that I get emotional at the best of times, but it sort of got me, and it was talking about when you two were sort of going through that experience with Amanda, and it goes, one night, Nicole threw me in a wheelchair and wheeled me down to the pub across the road. We laughed and laughed and forgot about the 24/7 hell that was my reality at that time. It was that night that something very special happened to Amanda. She was clearly having fun with friends, having dinner and feeling joy, which is what you're talking about now. I came back to my room and my sister helped me into my pyjamas, and then she went off to the bathroom. It was then that my toe moved for the first time. It was in that moment that I found hope. That is so powerful, and
it was very powerful.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I have you both here today, is how do you translate that to everyone else, because it's so potent.
Oh, it was massive. It was a massive time. And just before that moment happened, Nicole was literally doing everything for me, feeding me, helping me shower, helping me bathe, everything. And there was such a dark black hole time. It was just a waiting game. We were told this may be permanent. We just had to wait for the therapy to work and for the inflammation to reduce. And so when my toe moved for the first time, it was just such an amazing feeling, because, it could have gone either way. It wasn't, necessarily going to happen. And it was in that moment I found hope. And as a result, I started to channel my energy very differently. I started to focus on what I wanted instead of what I didn't want, which was to get my mind, body and life back. And I really believe that's when I started to really shift out of that alarm state, focusing on what I didn't want, back into, I saw evidence. I saw evidence in my environment that it could happen, and the hope helped, and it changed my focus.
Nicole, did you notice this attitudinal change as well?
Yeah, look, Amanda and I are stubborn as hell. We're Aries. And I do remember a moment. A friend came over to give Amanda a massage to ease some of her joints. She went into the bathroom and she just looked at me and said, what if it doesn't come back? And I just looked at her, and then I just said, it will. You know it will. And she said, yes, it will. And once it's mindset. I definitely went, no, this is not going to happen. I'm going to get better. And Amanda did say that to me. This is not my path. I have to and will get better. And I think that determination, as well as everything that Amanda talks about, is real. There was no other option for her.
I know, but still, some people, they don't recover, and it's like, why does that happen?
Yeah,
and I became obsessed about that topic. So all my research has been on
what's the thing. We both got obsessed obsessed with recovery.
Yeah.
And we were blessed that we recover. Every time I have a colonoscopy, my gastroenterologist is like, how do you not have scar tissue? I'm written in the books apparently, because you had the most damaged. I don't understand it.
But
and
now,
with Amanda, like, she's been so well for so long after a massive attack with no new lesions, and they've actually shrunk. I mean, it's just unheard of.
What I know now, especially after I'm a practitioner and I've studied and had personal experience, is your body really becomes a mirror image of what you deeply believe. And when I was younger, I really believed that I was screwed and that my future was, fearful and that it may not work out according to statistics and research and, looking at other people's stories. And your body really mirrors what you deeply believe. Well, that was what happened for me. That was my personal experience.
Yeah, everyone's story is very, very separate.
I'm sure you two have talked a lot about this, though, in your pajama moments.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but you got to, we did a lot of research, and the best way to maximise my recovery, and I think Nicole as well, is we always take a very balanced approach. So we utilise all that Western medicine has to offer us that's right for us, and then we combined that with complementary medicine, because what that addresses is stress that happens over a long period of time. Very good to get good at getting to the cause of issues and seeing the body as a whole, structurally, biochemically, emotionally. And when you really take a very balanced approach, I believe you're really maximising your recovery.
Well, we haven't really talked much about the kinesiology piece. Now, you are an accredited kinesiologist, and the reason that you are is because of your experience during your recovery. And when you describe all the options that you used, that was one of the greatest ones.
That was the biggest thing. Our old friend who treated us forever, Dr. Michael Bay, he's an amazing...
applied kinesiologist.
He's more than a kinesiologist. He has lots of...
He's a doctor virtually,
Yeah, he's a doctor. And he would come in every day, pretty much, and treat Amanda, and every time he treated her, a little part of her brain would reconnect with another part of her body.
Wow.
And it was
And the
evident.
physios mentioned it. Whenever he would treat me, they would say, oh gosh, what did you do overnight? Because you're 20% better today. And it was always after those sessions. Because, now I know that your muscles are connected to your brain via the nervous system, and traditional Chinese medicine techniques that kinesiology applies just allows those nerve pathways to wake up faster through the meridians. And it was a godsend. And I was very lucky to be at the right place at the right time with neurophysiotherapists living in rehab at Epworth Richmond under the care of Gavin Williams, a neurophysiotherapist who's passionate about not just getting his clients walking again, but running as well. So that mixed in with that balanced approach, the love and support of my friends and family, Nicole literally sleeping in my hospital bed many nights, and us having girls' night that night where, we wheeled in my wheelchair down to the pub. The girls would continue to visit me even though I couldn't be at girls' night. They came to me, and just feeling that love and support makes a huge difference when you're going through recovery.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. I think when you talk about the philosophy of kinesiology and that relationship that you have with your body and how it works philosophically, not just mechanically, that it's one of the very things that whilst we have understanding, we also get power as well. Did you also become in care of Dr. Magic as well, Nicole?
Michael Bay.
That's him. I couldn't remember his name. He just sounds like a magician.
He is.
Yeah, no, I've seen Michael for many, 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 many years, and he's just, I've always been treated by him, and he's an amazing, amazing chiropractor and kinesiologist.
So would you attribute your, being well as you can be to that?
I found him a lot after my recovery, but there were other issues that came up after that, particularly for me, that's non-related to Crohn, and he stabilised that very well, very well.
What do you think was the pivotal part in your recovery, Nicole?
Mindset.
And nutrition
really
too.
Mindset. It's all about your mind. It really is. I've always been born a very anxious person. I've always had massive anxiety. That's one of the differences with Amanda and I. She was never really an anxious child and person, and my anxiety contributed to my illness hugely. And my diet. I remember when I was in school, before I got sick, I really wasn't eating what I should be eating. And
because the tuck shop had pies and white bread with butter, and that was like lunch.
I would have a gingerbread man with half a buttered bread roll for lunch. That's what I was obsessed with. And that's what I would eat every day.
That's what the tuck shop was like back then.
And I was always just afraid for no reason. And so once I got control of my anxiety, things started to change, and then exercise as well.
It's really interesting, the association between anxiety, trauma and the human condition. When I'm working with people who, exhibit, physical symptoms, migraines, backaches, stomach upsets, that so many times it's attributable to a form of anxiety and experienced trauma as a child, and as a result I'm missing my entire large bowel because that
God.
Yeah, no, it's huge.
I had an amazing surgeon as well who works out of Epworth. We'll have to talk offline. He's probably have some experience of him because he's an amazing man as well. But I think quite often we actually more often than we should be are separating the physical and mental and emotional attributes.
Absolutely.
And not combining them.
Yes, definitely the bottom line of the huge message of today's entire show. Yeah.
Yeah. And why does it hurt so much to get your eyebrows tattooed, Nicole? Have you come up with anything better?
Yeah, she sorts all that out. Nah.
It's not that bad. The first round's a little bit scratchy.
Yeah.
And once we apply, we numb you up, and then the second round, we numb you up again, and then it works. You don't feel anything in the second round, but it's a little bit scratchy at first.
Yeah. No, but it's
totally
interesting because when I did some research on you for the show, I wasn't surprised to see what you did, but just being so, I was going to say, shallow in my research. You talked before about the people that you work with who have alopecia or cancer and lose their hair,
that's what
and
it's really about.
Yeah,
the moments you have with those clients where they look in the mirror afterwards and just feel like themselves again, and the tears and the looks on their faces, that's what I get up
transformation
to do. It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it's just something that a lot of people just don't think about when we're taking care of the human condition in the world. There's so many ways that we can do that. Fortunately, many think that it's about donating money or, going and tending a soup van, but we can support each other and add value and joy in so many different ways through the work that we do. And sometimes when you scratch the surface, even people that work in a call centre in an insurance company are connecting with people, and they don't know what sort of a day the other person's having and how much value that they can add.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, our connection to every human in the world, that's what we're here for, is everyone we meet is for a reason, and we get so caught up in our own stuff that I think we feel our best when we're actually giving back, and we're focusing not on ourselves and obsessively about us, that you kind of release all your stuff when you're giving back, and I think that's what life's all about.
Yeah, and when you feel safe rather than that alarm state and you're experiencing joy and you're really receiving it, you're more inclined to be kinder. So it all weaves in.
Yeah, and then you realise everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone feels the same way. They just don't talk about it. And when you're in these intimate rooms creating eyebrows or doing kinesiology, you kind of even learn yourself, okay, I'm normal. I'm not a freak. I'm okay.
Real.
And everyone feels the same way, and that we can help each other just sort of by just understanding and just by talking about it. Everyone,
And that great question, what does it feel like being you today, is a really good one, because that actually requires an answer, because we don't like to put pressure on people, and we feel like we're imposing if we tell somebody what it really feels like. But to say, hey, go mate, yeah, good, that's a typical Australian conversation, and it ends nowhere. So thinking about how do we create that environment where people can disclose.
Quite interesting, because a lot of the time, even before I did eyebrows, when I was just waxing it, you get some people who walk in the door stone cold and they just don't want to talk, and they're just,
probably because you're about to rip like hair out of their bits,
It could be their personality too.
Just like asking the right question and getting someone to just talk about themselves. Some people who were just so shut off, at the end of even 15, 20 minutes and they're leaving, I'm getting a hug and a smile.
Beautiful.
And I was just like, wow.
That deep connection.
That was very cool, just seeing when you just relate to another human being on a normal level, they open up.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best job in the world, isn't it, Nicole?
It is.
But gratitude also, we don't think enough about gratitude. What it feels like to give it and receive it is extremely powerful. And another thing that makes the world go around in a happier place is music. So we're about to go to a break, and I have a whole CD of Nicole and Amanda, or is it Amanda and Nicole?
Either or. We never really ended up with a name. But
who came out first?
Nicole.
Oh,
so we'll do a Nicole Amanda. Maybe Amazing.
Amanda Nicole.
Yeah. No, we never really got it.
Yeah, Amazing's a good one.
Yeah, like track 3.
Track 3. Okay, we're going to cue that.
Yeah, Nicole wrote this one.
Yeah, I wrote this one for a very lovely boy.
Look, if you get a call from, a talent agency going, hey, we'd like to sign you, don't forget who discovered you.
Love it.
Funny.
Love it.
Funny. All right, we're going to go to a break. Now, thank you, Nicole, for coming on the show. It's an absolute delight to meet you and hear about all the wonderful things you're getting up to. And it sounds like you and Amanda, whilst you're two people, you're also one doing many amazing things.
Thank you so much.
And I'll see you soon for the eyebrows.
Okay. Awesome. Can't wait.
Okay, see you, Nicole. You didn't say goodbye to your sister.
Oh, I thought I'd let you.
So we're going to play another track from the acclaimed album called Nicole and Amanda. And would you want to do an intro for this, Amanda?
This is a song called Amazing. Nicole and I wrote a few songs. Initially, our first one that you guys heard before was To Each Other, Meant to Be, a song about our connection together. And then as twins, you learn duality. And this is a piece Nicole wrote about the connections she made with others.
Well, and don't go away. You're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC.
All of a sudden there you were, the beginning such a blur. You were everything I'd always wanted. Who would have thought, who would have known that you'd be so close to home, wrapped up in a perfect package. The truth I used to know about me's changed. You found me a new world and I'm so amazed. 'Cause you're amazing, I'm crazy for you. You're amazing, you're making me do so many things. I wanna let this feeling grow until it overflows. I should take it slow, but you're too amazing. The butterflies, the long stairs that before I never dared. Parts of me I never knew were there. But now you bring me back to life. You gave me an insight into a world I thought I'd never share. The truth I used to know about me has changed. Oh, you showed me a new me and I'm so amazed. You're amazing, I'm crazy for you. You're amazing, you're making me do so many things. I wanna let this feeling grow until it overflows. I should take it slow. You're too amazing. I need a new beginning. All the things that I've been missing, I never known. Baby, you become my home. You're amazing, I'm crazy for you. You're amazing, you're making me do so many things. Wanna let this feeling grow until it overflows. I should take it slow. You're amazing, I'm crazy for you. You're amazing, you're making me do so many things. Wanna let this feeling grow until it overflows. I should probably take it slow, but you're too amazing. Yes, you are.
Oh, you are amazing. And you're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC with Rae Bonney, joined by Amanda Campbell. She's, amongst many other things, an accredited kinesiologist, helping all and sundry through her business creation bend like bamboo. And we did just hear from her divine sister, Nicole, who joined us for the last half hour. And you just heard another song off their debut album, Nicole and Amanda. And what was all that about, Amanda? Apart from being bloody amazing.
Oh, thank you. We co-wrote and produced that one with Sarah Godden. And oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure to hear the songs again, because in hindsight, 20 years later, it's, I'm actually much more proud of the songs than I was then, because, you doubt yourself when you're younger. Is this really good? But
could have gone a bit higher there.
Yeah, but like listening to the whole album in the car when you asked me to find my music, it really establishes all the different phases we went through in our lives and how it came through in the songs we wrote with all the wonderful people that we co-wrote with. So thanks for that.
That's all right. We were talking about gratitude just before we left off with Nicole, and I wanted to give a bit of a shout out to a few of my listeners who I know are tuning in right now, and two in particular, Georgia and Jess. They're having a very lovely weekend, I know, this weekend, and tuning in. So lots of love to you guys for all the wonderful things. Also, Ben, if you're listening in, we're going to get to your question soon in the show. And for all of the rest of you, in the event that you would like to hear this show again, get a copy of it. It will be produced on my YouTube channel over the next few weeks. And you can follow me on Facebook. Just type in Rae Bonney and you'll find my show and many other things about the work that I do through there, or even LinkedIn. So there you go. Now, speaking of connections, Steve Carey. Now, Steve Carey, might as well just call him one of the sponsors of my show here of It Really Is Okay to Not Be Okay, and what does it feel like being you today? Steve Carey, ex-news director of Channel 7, an amazing man who has done incredible things in the world. He gives me my best guests, and he said to me a few months ago, he said, you've got to meet Amanda Campbell because of what you've actually helped him with in his life. I wouldn't call him a stubborn man, but I would call him a man that knows what he wants, knows what he likes, and would not have the wool pulled over his eyes in any respect, but speaks so highly of you. And he also works with people in his business, Newsflash Media, where he and his team help you become a better version of yourself. You think people like maybe Donald Trump or even Pauline Hanson could probably use a bit of Steve Carey in their lives, perhaps even Lindy Chamberlain back in the day. But I know he's not listening in today because it's his beautiful son Tom's happy 14th birthday. Happy 14th birthday to you, Tom.
Yeah.
And so he was my entree into the work that you do.
Oh, that's so kind. Yeah, Steve is such a beautiful soul and a real blessing to come into my life. Yeah, I helped him on his journey, and initially being the journalist that he is, he, I'm sure, was a bit skeptical at the start. What's this about? How's this going to help me? And there were things that we worked through together, but he ended up being so wonderful in terms of how much dedication and work he put into his therapy. He really tackles it on all angles. He took that holistic approach and he got results because he did all the hard work. But as a result of his transformation, and because of his career and skills, he's really helped me, because I'm doing a bit of media here and there, to really how to explain what I do, because it's not an easy thing to do. But the bottom line is, with any client I work with, we get to the bottom of how to give them the right environment, their mind and body, to reset, repair and perform. And everyone's going through different stages in their lives. We all go through setbacks in our lives, right? And that's a time where we can feel really uncomfortable. But I'm a huge believer that setbacks are designed to make us uncomfortable so that we actually choose to see things from a different angle and perhaps walk a new path. And so I view setbacks as positive now. I view it as a time to reassess. Any setback I've gone through has allowed me to remeasure how I value success in my life, which as a result makes me more grateful and compassionate, which brings in more joy, which makes me happy, which inevitably gives my body the right environment to heal and repair. There's those two pathways, that alarmed state or a more of a safe state, let's call it. And when we faced with getting out of our comfort zone or we go through trauma in our lives, that alarm state is very real and our body behaves as if it was running from a predator, that fight or flight response. And as a result, our body mirrors that with hormones that are fired, such as adrenaline and cortisol, and inflammation and stress occurs. And we also go into selfish mode, that protective mode you go into when you just don't feel okay. And you're not able to see outside of that bubble, nor are you able to be as kind as you normally would be to other people. You're in fear. And so I found that when I was in that alarm state, my disease got much worse. Whereas when I started to feel more safe, my body responded differently. And this is how I work with my clients as well, getting to the bottom of their alarm state, when it happened, what it all means, and how to not just consciously, but deeply subconsciously convince their system that it's okay to put the brakes on. It's okay to slow down. So there's lots of techniques that we run through to optimize mindset. We run through nutrition. As a sports kinesiologist, I'll assess the body and the posture. There's sometimes physical issues that we address. And, for example, 100 years ago, we probably washed ourselves every few days, right? Whereas now we have more hygiene and more of an understanding, right?
Certainly not with the water rates the way they are.
So we know how to wash our body, right? How do you wash your mind? How do you wash your mind every day and cleanse it of fear and past points of view, or old mindsets or other people's mindsets that you might have taken on? So if somebody comes to you and says, I've got a dirty mind, you can help them. Great. Yeah. Yeah, well, I can help you to change your mind about what is possible for your mind, body and life. When I did that for myself, and after what I went through to the paralysis, when I did walk again, experiencing that showed me how capable I was, and that changed my belief system and how I felt about myself. And my body therefore started to mirror that, from the lack of ability to walk to actually this momentum started, and I could physically feel the difference in my body according to how I felt emotionally. And not everybody has that. Like with what I was going through with MS and those symptoms, I guess as awful it was lucky to show me that comparison. And it's in those different comparative moments in life that, those light and dark moments, I think that it's supposed to happen in life, like setbacks, difficult times, and then even better times. It really allows us to learn so much about ourselves, and through times of setback is where you really want to have the skills to process difficult emotions. And that's exactly what I do at the clinic.
Well, let's think about some of our listeners. We've just had a few questions coming in to say, well, I've heard about kinesiology before, but I don't really believe it. I want to know more.
Yeah.
We were talking before about possibly getting one of your clients on air to talk about their experience.
Sounds great.
I know that you've prepared one before. That actually didn't sound very staged at all, did it, listeners? No, we did plan this. Absolutely.
Well, we asked permission.
Because we do. We do ask permission because it's the polite thing to do. And it also gives us another chance to play something off the debut album, Amanda and, I was going to say Thelma and Louise, but it's actually Amanda and Nicole. What number?
10.
10. Here we go. Number 10.
Expectations.
Well, that sounds very high, doesn't it?
Yeah, we actually did record this in Vince Del Tito's studio from Young Talent Time.
Get out.
Yeah. We worked there for ages.
I love that.
With their team. They're incredible.
All right, we're going to have a listen to Expectations. We'll be right back chatting to Monica. Don't go away.
Attention from you to me is like a warm summer breeze. See, I love you when you hold me tight in times of need or just to be together. The trueness of us is shown in our eyes. The windows to the soul never lie.
Welcome back. How's that? And you are listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC with Rae Bonney, joined by Amanda Campbell, and she's a life transformation, mental health and motivational speaker, working with businesses and people to improve well-being and performance through her business called Bend Like Bamboo. See, it didn't say it. Didn't say Bend It Like
That was
Beckham.
perfect.
Great song, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Really, really good.
Yeah, thank you. It's just such a blast from the past. We're very lucky. We had really wonderful people that we worked with. So
Yes,
can't.
working out of the Young Talent Time studios, that's a bit of a thing, isn't
Oh
it?
my gosh, it was so exciting. I got a call from Vince one day and I didn't realise it was Vince.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, we've heard about you guys. Come down. I want to have a meeting with you. And, we came into the studio in South Melbourne and then we all the certificates and, with discs and awards. And then I realised, oh my God, it's Vince Del Tino. And all of us became such great friends. And he had a great studio down there with excellent producers that worked with us.
Wow. Well, I received a lovely accolade and have just become the brand ambassador for Entertainment Assist, which is the not-for-profit organisation that looks after the mental health of people in the entertainment industry. It's very brand new, but I'm thrilled to take on that role. And one of our ambassadors actually is Jamie Redfern from his ex-Young Talent Time. So Jamie was around in the 60s, 70s.
Unreal.
But he was a bit of a heartthrob back then, and I dare say he still is now. But
I love it.
But it's funny, just listening to you talking about the entertainment industry. It is a fantastic industry, and I'm very thrilled to be part of making change there.
Good.
And continuing the celebration that entertainment, it makes the world go around, and most people consume entertainment in some shape or form.
It's true.
We forget that's people feel the entertainment industry to please everyone else. So, oh gosh, I forgot. We've got Monica on the phone. We're talking before the break about people wanting to know a little bit more about what it feels like being a client, I guess.
What it's like having a session at the clinic.
Amanda Campbell. So here's one we did prepare earlier. Hello, Monica. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Sorry to have just left you there while we were yakking on about Young Talent Time. Of the age that you watched Young Talent Time yourself as a child?
Yes, definitely.
Who was your favourite?
To be honest, I can't remember their names.
Go with Vince. Vince.
Vince.
Yeah, Vince.
Or Tina Arena. She's
great.
Yes.
Little Tina. She was a bit of a pocket rocket.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
But Monica, in the final stages of our show, what does it feel like being you today? I wanted to just have a chat with you about what it feels like being in the care of Amanda Campbell.
Okay. I'd seen Amanda back in 2012. Some lesions in my brain, and I had a bit of depression and things. Yeah, just as soon as I went into a session with her, I just felt so comfortable and relaxed, a really safe space. Yeah, it helped me in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just with everything, with stress, with work, relationships, it just helped me become a little more centred and feel more whole.
Could you describe, with the help of Amanda here, because people might go, well, I could go to counselling, I could go to, hydrotherapy. There's a whole range of different therapies one can attend to address all of those issues. But what in particular was it about Amanda's therapy and approach that you felt really resonated with you?
Okay, it's because it sort of connected with me. So, and it helped me see, sort of very hard to explain, I guess, but it helped me see the parts.
Go on, Monica, go on.
Sorry, it helped me see sort of the parts of myself that, because you can talk about yourself and things, or you can talk about how you're feeling, but you don't actually know how you're feeling sort of inside, whereas Amanda can bring that out and just show you that side of why you're feeling the way you are, or why you're doing the things you're doing to sabotage and things like that.
Great. That's a great explanation. I guess another way to look at it is, what was life like before you had the techniques now, before you learnt about yourself in this way?
Before I went in?
Yeah, what was life like before? How did you used to solve problems? How did you used to feel every day before you did the work?
Well, yeah, I couldn't solve any of my problems. I think everything before it just all built up and just was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I also, I didn't sort of understand where all my problems were coming from and why I was feeling the way I was.
Yeah, and how to connect all the dots, I guess, hey?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you remember then, Amanda, when Monica first came to see you, and it's been quite a decent trajectory over years, that, without disclosing Monica's personal information on international radio, what are the key sort of moments, I guess, that you've noticed in Monica's change?
Literally her face changed. It was just, she has a beautiful face.
Do you need some eyebrows? I know where you can get some.
No, so it's the difference to, we call it, when we are in that alarm state, as we've been talking about, you can really, you've got the mind and you've got the body and you've got the spirit, right? And this is Chinese medicine talk. So in human form, like the mind and body can't escape, but the spirit or your essence absolutely can. It can just quote, I guess you feel like you're not really in your body. And that's when you see someone with glassed over eyes. No one's really at home because you've really disconnected from yourself, which is not the right environment to give your body to be able to repair and perform. And then as we started to do the work and we dissected what was going on with Monica and we gave her the right environment with optimal nutrition that was right for her, we dove into her mindset and worked out any barriers there that how she was feeling about her circumstances and herself and things in the past, how we gave her skills on how to process her emotions. We dove into meditation and we dove into journaling, and in each session we sort of unpacked how processes of her mind. And then over the course of time, with a better understanding of the cause of her issues, we just she created a deeper connection within herself, and literally we saw a sparkle in her eye.
A shimmer.
Oh, it was huge. Like her face, when you have a relaxation session, maybe a float or something, and you come out and you're just like, oh my God, your face has changed.
Was that an accurate description, Monica?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's
so inspiring.
Yeah, I can't explain how happy I am now, like where I was back then.
She inspires me so much.
Amazing.
Well, thank you for sharing that little bit with us right at the end of our show today, Monica. I know it's not easy for everyone just to jump on radio and talk about transformation, but it's been a great end to our show, so thank you very much.
That's right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Monica. You're the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. That was Monica from somewhere in Melbourne, I guess.
Yes.
To talk about her experience of kinesiology with the amazing Amanda Campbell. Now, Amanda, we are coming to the end of the show, but before we do, if people want to get in touch with you to talk more about how you might be able to help them, or even book you as a speaker, because I know you do speaking in corporate settings around transformation and challenge based on your story. So where can they find you?
The best website is just my name. So Amanda Campbell, pbell.com.au. You can find all of my offerings as a speaker and the workshops I do. And then you can also find Bend Like Bamboo on there as well.
Yes. And I think, today's show, whilst we probably could have spent at least another hour.
We'll come back in with Nicole next.
I would love
Maybe
that.
after we get our next record deal and we're like, it happened. And we'll just talk about it.
You never know. The day is still young.
I'd relaunch it. I'd do it. I would.
Anyone who wants a copy of the album can also contact Amanda at her website.
Yeah, just private message me.
What about, you could even play that in the background, subliminally, just interacting with your clients.
Yeah, maybe. No, yeah, well, who knows? Who knows the future?
Now, if any of our discussions today, as sometimes they do, have brought up uncomfortable feelings to anyone, they certainly have for me. Not really. In terms of my first, I haven't been on air for about 2 months. So, but please seriously remember, help is out there. We have something like 375 online help support pathways here in Australia. Not for everyone, and we have been talking about options of how to get support. So have a look what's best for you. But honestly, if you're looking for something immediate in crisis support, don't forget Lifeline is 131114. That's 131114. The suicide callback service is not as alarmist as it seems. It's a bloody good service. Give them a call on 1300 659 467. And of course, emergency services is 000. No question. Now, Paula Hogg has just arrived in the studios and she is here for her extremely lazy Sunday afternoon full of great songs, and she brings in about 1,000 CDs. I don't know how she does it, but she does a great show every single time, week in, week out. I'll be back at 10:30 a.m. on the 13th of January 2019. It's next year.
Love it.
Yeah. But until then, remember that it really is okay to not be okay, and asking that question, what does it feel like being you today? Well, that could save a life, especially around this silly season that is very, very far from festive for so many people. So see you later, and thank you, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.